Hi, and welcome to another video by Get It Done Home Repairs. Today's project is going to be mounting a motion activated light underneath the top of the soffit up underneath here. Now the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you want to measure out exactly where you want to put it, which is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to measure between the house and the top of the gutter right here, and we're going to put it approximately center of where it's going to be, and this is where it's going to be mounted, just like this, so that way our motion sensor will face this direction here. A couple of things you're going to need. The first thing you're going to need is you're going to need a box that's capable of being mounted outside for the exterior of a house. You want to make sure it's a water resistant or waterproof box, which is what this one is. You're going to need a hole saw such as this to make the hole in the top right up here for this piece to fit into, and you want to make sure that the saw is the same size as the box itself. All right, and the last thing we're going to do before we do anything, we're going to come in here, we're going to pinpoint where we want to put it. We're going to drill a small pilot hole through here first, and then we're going to go up in the attic to make sure that it's not directly in line with one of the rafters. All right, you can get a pretty good idea of where the rafters are by looking at the gutter and seeing where the screws go through to hold the gutter in place, but you never know until you get up there and drill it. So we're going to drill a small pilot hole first through here, and then we're going to go in the attic and we're going to make sure that it's in the correct location. All right, so let me get all set up. We're going to drill that hole and then we'll come right back. Okay, so here you can see I drilled that small hole and I left the drill bit in there. We're going to go up in the attic right now and we're going to look to see where that drill bit came out to make sure it's nowhere near the roof rafters. Okay, I know this is going to be a little bit dark for you to see anything up here, but I just want to explain to you what I'm doing. You see right on this side over here, we measured from the corner of the house to find out where that drill bit came through, and we know it's about 41 inches. So we're going to go about 41 inches, which is right here, and we're going to look down this way, straight down there, and we're going to see that it's in between the two rafters right here. So we probably are going to be okay to put that light right where it's located, but we're going to go down inside here. We're going to remove that insulation that you see right down in there. We're going to remove that insulation and we're going to see where our drill bit is. All right, so first thing you want to do is lay yourself a piece of wood up on top of the beams in the attic, because you do not want to step in between where the insulation is right here. If you step in between where the insulation is, you're going to go right through the ceiling down into the living area below. So we lay a piece of plywood across here so that we can crawl out there to remove that insulation. Now you probably want to have a face mask on because you don't want to be breathing the particles from the insulation. All right, so let's crawl out there and let's see what it looks like. Okay, so we pulled back the first rung, the first insulation, and as you can see, we have one more that we have to pull back. I just want to point this out to you. When you're working up here, be careful because you have nails that come through. You don't want to hit your head on there and wind up with a trip to the emergency room. All right, let's pull that insulation back and let's see what's down there. I'm going to try to film this, but it's very tight. Pulling that insulation out is probably the hardest part of this whole job. But now, you can see right there is the drill bit. Let me zoom up on it. You can see the drill bit is right in the center, so it's a very good spot. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go down the bottom and we're going to drill the hole to accommodate the new box that we're going to put in outside. That's how tight the area is that you need to get into, and you just have to watch your head on those nails. All right, let's go outside and continue out there. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to drill a hole in the soffit underneath here to accommodate this box here. So as we said, we have a drill that is the right size for this, and now we're going to come up, we're going to take that drill bit out, and then we are going to drill it, but we're only going to drill it so that we take this aluminum out. We're not going to drill through the wood underneath it. So let's take this out. All right, let's drill it. Nice and easy, don't push too hard. Okay, let me show you why you don't want to drill through up on the top right here. Let me bring you up there, I'll show you why, and then we'll continue. See, what you wanted to do is just drill through the aluminum soffit up here, and you don't want to drill through this here because that is where you're going to screw your outside box into. And the reason you couldn't just put screws through here to hold it in there is because see how soft this is? If you try to screw your box in there, it's not going to be tight, it's going to be moving around. That's why we cut it a little bit bigger. I mean, we cut the hole through here, and now we can fit our box in there. And through here, we're going to drill a 1/2 inch, maybe a 3/4 of an inch hole, so we can slide the wiring through, and then we're going to secure our box up in here. All right, so let's do that. Now that we have the hole cut in here to accommodate the new receptacle, you can see it fits in there perfectly. We're going to put these plugs in here, we're going to seal this off, and we're going to pull our wire right through here. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to drill that hole right there that we previously put in. We're going to make that about a 1/2 inch in diameter so we can pull our new power supply through here. Okay, so now we have our hole that we can pull our power supply through. Now we're going to take our box and we're going to mount our box up here. We have these two small holes right here. We're just going to notch this out just a little bit here and notch it out just a little bit here so we can put the screws up into this piece of wood here to hold it in place. And what we use to notch the, this is aluminum, so we can't really cut it very easily. We're going to use something like this tool here just to notch it out, where we're going to put the mounting ears underneath there. So, all right, let me do that. And once I notch this out using this, we'll come back and we're going to run that wire from the attic and we'll bring it down here. Okay, so now after we got the opening cut for the box to go in, we're going to drill two small pilot holes right through here, and then we're going to mount this box up to the hard wooden soffit below this aluminum soffit. All right, but first we're going to put these plugs in right here, and the way you do that is you just screw them in there, screw them tight, and you're good to go. So let me do that real quick. You just screw in, you just put them in the side here, and you can screw them in. Now, you're going to screw them in by hand for now. And then we'll grab a Phillips head screwdriver or a flathead and we'll screw them in tight. Remember, the only one we're going to be using is going to be the one on the bottom right here. Now, if this was in a wet location where it's going to get a lot of rain, you probably want to use some silicone on these threads here, but this is up underneath the soffit and there will be no water going inside there, so we don't have to worry about that here. Okay, so that's it. Let's pre-drill these holes up here and we're going to put the screws in to hold it in place. Put our box up here and we're going to mark it with the pencil where we need to pre-drill our holes. Okay, now we're going to pre-drill the holes with a very small drill bit, of course. Screw it up a little bit, and then we'll get a second screw in. Now what we're going to do, just to make it a little bit easier up in the upstairs, is we're going to take some wire like this, and we're going to take this and feed this through from this way up into the attic, because it'll make it a little bit easier connecting up and pulling the wires through, because you remember how tight it was over here. So we're going to tilt it this way, and we're going to push these wires that way. Okay, now we're going to go up into the attic, and we're going to tape the other wires onto those wires, and we'll pull them through. I just want to point this out. Before I go in the attic and pull it through, I am going to silicone up all of those openings right there, so we don't have any issues with any insects getting in. Okay, so now here we are up in the attic, and we picked up our power supply. We brought it into a junction box right here, and we're going to put a switch in there. But for now, we're going to connect the wires up outside, and then we'll come back and make our final connections. These wires right here now are live, so we are not going to connect them yet. And we put our cable along here, and you can see we put a staple every within so many feet within so many inches of the junction box. Check your local codes to see what your codes require you to do. And now we strung the wire across here, and we're going to bring it down in the back over there, and we're going to run it out to the backyard. So, all right, let's continue. Okay, now as you can see, it's a little bit dark up here, but I'm going to try to show you the best I can. This is the switch being wired. We have our power lead coming in right here. We have our lead that's going out to the lights that we just put up. We have our ground connected here and through the back of the box right there. And we also connected our ground up to the switch itself. Our white leads are then tied together right here. And that's it. We're just going to tuck these wires back inside the box right here. We're going to connect our switch, and then we'll test our light and get it all set up. I just want to show you this real quick. This is our tester right here. That's our live wire right there. And this one, as you can see, it's not live right now. The switch is in the off position, but let me turn it on, and we're going to see if there's power going back there. So let's turn it on. And as you can see, we now have power back there, and we have power back here as well. All right, so let's turn it off until we finish putting it together. We're going to put this switch back inside here, and then we're going to put our cover back over the top, and then we'll go and set the light up. Okay, now we have everything all connected up. We have our cover back on. We have the screws tight. We'll turn our switch on, and now we'll go out and we'll set up the app, and this job should be finished. Okay, so that's our wire coming up from outside right here. We're going to take our new wire, and we're going to tape it onto that wire right there. And then we're going to go outside and pull it out. Once we pull the wires through, then we just cut off the excess wire. We're going to leave approximately a foot for us to work with. Now we'll take our utility knife or whatever you have to strip away the insulation on the wiring so we can gain access to the 3 wires inside. Be careful not to cut yourself. Once we strip away the outside insulation, we pull the wires apart, and the paper that's wrapped around the ground wire in there, we can just pull that off and just throw it away. You don't need that any longer. We'll take our pliers to separate the insulation from the inner core. Make sure you use the correct one. You don't want to damage the wire inside there. If you're using a 12 gauge wire, make sure you use the strippers for a 12, and a 14, of course, use the one for the 14. Now once we have the wire stripped back, we're going to take our ground wire and we're going to connect it around inside the box itself. There's a screw in there. That's a ground wire. We're going to connect our ground onto the box itself so that the box is then grounded. We're going to tighten that screw all the way up. Make sure you have a nice tight loop inside there so you don't have any kind of an issue where it's not making good contact. Next, we're going to grab the bracket that came supplied with the new light assembly itself. We're going to attach the bracket up to the new box that we just put in, and the light itself will then attach to that new bracket. So everything is tight. We're going to grab a new bracket and we'll continue. When you install the new bracket, make sure you put it up so that the flat part of the bracket itself is facing down towards the light fixture, because the upper part that's inside the box itself is actually like a little bit beveled out with the threads for the new component to attach to. So make sure you put that bracket in correctly. Now at this point we're ready to attach our light fixture up to the wiring that we just put in. Make sure you put your waterproof gasket on the light first before you connect up your wiring, because it's important that you put that gasket on there. First thing we're going to do now is we're going to connect all three of the wires. We're going to take our ground wire, which is our green wire on the light fixture itself, and we're going to take the wire inside the box that we just put in, and we're going to connect it up to that ground wire. After we put it on the ground wire, we're going to screw that nut, the wire nut, over the top of it. Once we put the wire nut on, we're going to give the wires a tug just to make sure that they're nice and tight. Sometimes you'll put the wire nut on and it may not be tight enough. So just give a little tug on the wires just to make sure. And then we're going to connect the other two wires, the black and the white, to make sure that they're connected up nice and tight, just the exact same way we put that the ground wire and connected that up. Once you're confident that you have everything connected up correctly, we're going to take the wires and we're going to push them up inside the box behind that bracket that we previously just installed. Get them up and out of the way. Position our gasket the way we want it. And now we'll put our screw up inside there to hold the new light fixture to that bracket that came supplied with the new light. Watch when you put the light up that you don't pinch the wires by accident, so take your time here and just make sure that they're recessed behind that bracket. Now once your light fixture is up, we're going to turn the lights to shine the direction that we want to, and then we can adjust and tighten up the screw that holds the new light fixture to the bracket that we previously put on. And now it's just a matter of adjusting everything to personal preferences. And that's it. This job is done, and we're on to the next. Now, once you download the app, you can make all of the adjustments for how far out you want the light to detect motion and to how long for the light to stay on. That's it. We're done. As always, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.